Hello and welcome, Pale Blue Daughters. I just wanted to do a quick new video about my top 5 favorite new Cubase 11 features. As many of you know, hopefully a lot of Cubase users out there, people are curious about it. They just released the new Cubase 11 with some pretty big things. I know in some circles people have been like, hey, what's the big deal with the new Cubase? But for me, the changes they implemented were so relevant and I think crucial to workflow that I was pretty excited about it, so I wanted to post a video about it really quickly. So this is going to be just a quick and dirty video. I'm going to run down my top 5 favorite new features, and please like and subscribe so you can keep my channel growing and you can keep knowing. Alright, so the first new feature is the upgrade to the sampler track. So Cubase introduced the sampler track where you can take an audio file and instantly turn it into a sampler that gets mapped on your keyboard. That was way back in Cubase 9, I believe, like 5 or 6 years ago. Man, back then I had my own bachelor pad. It was wonderful. What happened? Anyway. So up until recently, the sampler track was really basic. You create a sampler track, it gets mapped on your keyboard, and you couldn't slice up the sample. You could actually, so if you wanted to do like cool vocal chops or break up a loop into kicks and snares and hi-hats and just play it yourself and manipulate it however you want via MIDI, that just wasn't possible. Actually, there was a workaround. You could do it in Groove Agent. You could drag a WAV file into Groove Agent and split it up. But now you can do it for real in the sampler track. So I'm just to do like a quick example. I have a song here that I was working on. Actually got those vocals from the new library content update, the Bloom vocals. They're really cool, really great for this kind of trip hop stuff. So anyway, so what I could do, say I just want to create like a weird melodic pattern in the background, I could convert this to a sampler track. All right, we got our sampler track here. So right now it initially maps it to a full key. And like a sample, you just the pitch goes up, and the pitch and speed go up as you go up, and pitch and speed go down as you go down. So I'm too tired. I'm too tired. I'm too tired. Right, but now you can slice it. I'm too Let's just make that one slice. I'm too tired. I'm too tired. I'm too tired. So I could just replay this however I wanted to. I'm just going to go mute the vocal here. There you go. Inspiration already. Let's track this. All right, there's our next hit record, ready to go. So now we got something kind of playable here. So we can go ahead and affect this, kind of put it in the background here, roll off some highs. Let's pitch this up to a 5th. There we go. We can pitch that up to 5th. Now we have even different notes than the singer was singing. And there we go. We got a whole new part. I mean, this isn't going to win any Grammy records right here, but you get the picture. You can just go ahead and create new parts from anything. So I love the sampler track. That's pretty much my favorite new feature, and I'm going to be using this all the time. Brings us to feature number 2, appropriately enough, frequency 2. 2 for 2. This is a super exciting thing to come to Cubase. It's really great. Like usually I've had to reach out to third-party plugins like ProQ or TDR Nova to get dynamic EQ. But now we can do this in Cubase. So we can do stuff like, say if I wanted the kick to duck the bass, but only in a certain frequency. Let's set that up. So here's the bass track. It's got a lot of sub here. See, actually, if I was to compare this, let's use Cubase's EQ overlay feature. So here's the bass. I'm going to choose the kick drum. Let's go to the bass track. There's the bass track, and now I'm going to add the kick. So we can see they're really operating in the same frequencies between like 60 to 100, 120. All right, so a fun thing we can do. So we're still in the bass track here. Let's take frequency. So we can add frequency here. So we got 8 different EQ bands here, and every one of them can be turned into a dynamic EQ. And what's even cooler than that is there are now 8 side channels. You can have 8 side channels, so every single one of these could have their own side chain input. It's really something else. So I'm just going to switch this band here to dynamic, and then you can hit the single band view so you get all the options nice and big here. So let's get this going. So let's take the bass here and we'll go around 60. Sure, that'll do. And now you could do your normal cut here. But what we're going to do is we're going to switch on the side chain. Then I'm going to add the kick. So now the kick's going to trigger the EQ here. So you have to have a little bit of a cut here in order for something to happen, but now I'm going to lower the threshold. So now this is acting like a compressor. And I'm going to set the side chain to side chain 1, which is the kick. Now we're going to see this react to the kick drum. So that's really cool. So I'm just going to bypass this. Let's go extreme settings. Yeah, if you got headphones on, you should be able to hear like the low frequencies ducking on the bass. So this could be really helpful with mixes like this that have a very strong low end. Maybe the kick and bass are fighting. Ideally, you want to fix that in the arrangement, but hey, any tool that can help is a good tool. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I've been using Dynamic Q a lot more lately, and this is a really welcome change. So that brings us to number 3. And this is something I'm really excited about because I've spent many hours of my life painstakingly doing pitch bends in MIDI. You know, say if you have like a fretless bass and you want it to slide, or you have a violin note you want to bend up. Like previously, you had to go into a pitch bend. You had to go into pitch bend and just kind of draw it in and hope for the best. Like, and you had so many times I have to hover trying to hit that 0 line, and you just wait for the inspector to say 0. It's so painstaking. So bad for the wrists. But now, say if I wanted to put a pitch bend in the start of this bass line, I can now enable snapping to grid. So the pitch bend now, you see the +2. So let's go pitch up +2 or -2. I can now snap to the grid. So this makes editing pitch so much easier. So you see now, when I raise the inspector, I don't know if you watch my inspector here, where the cursor is, it's only 0, 1, 2. So anything I do, so I'll lock in a 0 here, and I'll lock in another 0 here, and then add a node. So there, now we got a sudden pitch bend up a full step. And let's use the new lovely Bezier curves here. We can create kind of a smooth transition and see what this sounds like. Cool. So I want this to be a little more faster, as if I just pushed on the pitch wheel really quickly. Yeah, that's pretty close. Cool. So just that alone, being able to do this that quickly is miraculous. Like those kind of little things, I'm sure many of you know, this moving around nodes meticulously, trying to get these pitches correct and then not messing up the rest of your file with pitch bends and going back in and laying 0 resets everywhere. I mean, yeah, this is going to save me so much work doing this kind of thing. Like I'm so happy about this, and I think you will too. I think anybody who does a lot of MIDI pitch bend editing, this is going to be really, really a miraculous new feature. Next big change is the export dialog, and this is incredible, especially for people who need to bounce stems for mastering. For me, I do a lot of audio post-production work, and this is going to give me a huge advantage when a project is done. If a client needs multiple mixes, multiple formats, it's incredible. So I mean, first of all, what have I got? I got an MP3 selected here. So say my mix is done, I can add my MP3 to the queue. But I also want to have a 4824 waveform. I can do that too. Add that to the queue. Even cooler than that, you can go in here. So something that's just wonderful about Cubase is that with the OpenSave dialog open, you can still at any time you can play your mix. You can make adjustments. That's been true for a very long time with Cubase, but they've enhanced that even further. If you go into multiple mode and you enable this guy to sync selection between the export dialog and your project, you can just select tracks willy-nilly anywhere, and bam, you can add that to the queue. If you forgot something you wanted to do, you have your queue ready to go. You're like, oh shoot, I wanted to mix the vocal tracks out in mono, so I can select these tracks, they appear up here. Then I could switch this to 48 mono, add that, and now I have its own separate discrete mix down. So I have, on this I'm exporting an MP3, I'm exporting a wave of the entire mix, I have some random groups in here and stuff. So you can export your group tracks in stereo, and then I wanted to get my vocal out of here, I could do that in mono, and I could even choose to include the inserts. I could have a completely dry, or just the groups and sends it's using, or the groups and sends and the master if you have master processing going on. It's so flexible, it's almost painful. It's really hard to find any fault with this. It's just absolutely amazing, and this is a real godsend to, like I said, if you do a lot of post-production or you just want flexibility, you want to get all your MIDI parts out in one go, you want to bring this over to Logic or something, and or Pro Tools. This gives you all the flexibility in the world. It's really, really something else. And And finally, for spot number 5, another thing I'm super excited about. I think this is going to be great, especially nowadays that we have to target different rates for different streaming services. We now have SuperVision, which is Steinberg's an analysis suite. Like, this is something else. So you have like 5 million different things to choose from here. Here's loudness. This shows you your integrated LUFS, you know, so you can match your streaming standards. It's -14 for YouTube. You got spectrum stuff. You know, you can see where the loudest points in the spectrum are on your mix. What else we got here? This one's really cool. There's multi-correlation and phase. So you can see where there are phase differences in your mix between left and right. If you see a lot of stuff in the low end, that could be an indication that your low end's out of phase and it won't translate well in mono. Oscilloscopes, wave scopes, big time display. They have presets here. Look at this one. I haven't even seen this one yet. Like, yeah, this is pretty amazing. There you go, general loudness one. I use this one a lot. We'll be using that for this video, in fact. So, yeah. So I'm really happy about that. Another honorable mention while I'm here. I kind of wanted to put this in the top 5, but it's not quite as exciting as the others. Is that they make changes to the global tracks. So global tracks like markers, rulers, arrangement, all these kind of things. And now, not only did they put the dotted lines here to enhance the separation between the global tracks and your normal tracks. They've made it possible to see the global tracks when you're in the edit window, which is great for someone like me. I used to always have this pulled down a little bit so I could see where I was, help me get oriented. But now, the markers, rulers, all this stuff is totally visible. So this is really helpful. So you see if you have a marker here, you can now see, oh, I wanted to cut this exactly to this marker. It's right there for you. And another beautiful thing is they added grid lines to these markers, so they now extend all the way down. You can turn that on and off in preferences if you don't like it, but for me this is great. Like the markers used to only extend to the size of the marker track. Now they go all the way down. Look at this. This is great. Like you can see exactly where I have markers. And I think that's going to be really beneficial for editing. So now, you know, I can have this window as expanded as I like, and I know exactly where I am and go back and forth between my markers, and I can see them. This is going to be excellent for like really detailed editing. Very, very thrilled about that. So yeah, that's my top 5 plus 1 extra features about Cubase. What are you guys' favorite features? Let me know. Did I miss something major? Probably did. Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, once again, like and subscribe. I'm going to have regular Cubase, Logic, audio tips coming out every week. Please feel free to check back anytime, and check my other videos. I just did one on the Cubase sampler track more in depth, so I'll leave a link for that, and please check it out, and thanks for watching. Bye.